Okay, this is part 3 of quotes from Frank Smith, the educator, expert on learning, Harvard guy. He says, "There is another significant factor about comprehension. It is confidence. You will never learn anything if you are not confident about your learning ability. Lack of confidence raises anxiety, and it induces inappropriate approaches to learning, such as rote memorization, and it makes confusing what we might otherwise understand." Yeah, so you have to believe that you could do it. And often the way you do it is you start with baby steps. Learn the easier stuff first and build up to the bigger stuff. Also, if you take a class that's difficult for you, a good thing to do is take it during summer school. Like if you're a college student, take it in summer school at a junior college, and then you'll have more time to devote to it. You'll fix your weak points, and you'll be able to do it. But you got to go for it, okay? And you got to set things up to give yourself a chance. The other thing, too, I'll tell students is if a subject's difficult for you, get an advantage on other people. If you're taking it in the autumn semester, then study all summer. Take another class in the summer. Go through anything on the YouTube to learn the subject. Study on Christmas break. Give yourself an advantage. Figure out what it takes to make sure when you sit in that seat in the classroom that you know more than everyone else in the room. It's actually pretty easy to do if you approach it in that way. Okay, next thing, Frank Smith. And we have to understand something in order to learn it. We need to make sense of it. Yeah, real knowledge, you understand it. He says if you want your kid to grow up to be a particular kind of person, you should put your child in the company of that kind of person. Yeah, kids do whatever their friends do. They're strongly influenced by their mentors, so get them around good mentors and friends. I think this is a key point. Conventional school, it focuses on transmitting explicit knowledge. World War I was from 1914 to 1918. Okay, but that's nice, but you need to have way more than that knowledge to be good at something. A big part, this by the way is my quotes, this is not Frank Smith here. A big part of learning something is tacit knowledge or procedural knowledge. And that's like, riding a bicycle. You just know it because you can do it. And this tacit knowledge comes from the word taciturn for silence. And it's stuff you can't really put into words that effectively. And there's something in between explicit knowledge and tacit knowledge, and that's called implicit knowledge. It's more difficult to articulate, but can still potentially be articulated. But the point is, you get this tacit knowledge from being around experts, being around good mentors, around good coaches. And this is also why one guy might get a perfect score on a test, but really can't do the activity because they don't have the tacit knowledge. They haven't spent time doing that. They just read it from a book, but they don't have real world experience, okay? So you got to get the real world experience with good coaches, good mentors, do an apprenticeship, go into competitions in the sport or in the activity, and then you'll build real skill, okay? All right, next another quote by Frank Smith. He says, "What is called grouping of students by age and ability really means segregating them according to inexperience and inability, as if the aim was to make it impossible for the students to learn from each other." So that's a good point. The way schools are designed is to make sure the kids learn almost nothing, because all the kids are equally ignorant. They can't help each other at all. The old-fashioned, one-room schoolhouse with all the different ages in the same room, then the older kids can help the younger kids, and that helps the teacher as well. He says, "This puts an enormous burden on the teacher when all the kids are the same age. She's now totally responsible for 20 or 30 relatively helpless students unable to get any help from any of the other students." Okay. He says the first oversight because there's a guy by the name of Ebbinghaus. Ebbinghaus made all these learning curves and gave his theory about memory and forgetting. He wrote a forgetting curve showing how we forget so much. But Frank Smith points out the problem with the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. It's based on nonsense. Ebbinghaus was just trying to memorize nonsense syllables, which is stupid because in the real world nobody cares about that. But that's partly why Ebbinghaus made it look like forgetting was so inevitable. It's inevitable for nonsense because there's no reason for your brain to retain nonsense. Your brain's designed to retain things that matter to you. And so Frank Smith points that out. He says the Ebbinghaus laws of forgetting only apply to nonsense. Anything that makes sense to us is integrated into our continually growing knowledge of ourselves and the world, and it's never lost. It becomes part of us. Okay? That's Frank Smith from the Book of Learning and Forgetting. Yeah, the way you learn anything new that you're going to keep is you associate it with what you already know. Okay, Frank Smith continues. He says the ultimate crushing of the classic approach to learning will be the total elimination of direct human contact in formal education. In its place will be electronic interconnections. Without community, without a man or a woman, there will be no one for the learners to identify with. You just follow questions on a computer, and that's a bad form of learning. I hate learning from isolated computers. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes you have to. And sometimes you'll have a good speaker who makes a video. Then I like that when the good speaker makes a video. Of course I like that. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is I don't know if you've ever done program learning where you just have to check all these boxes. I hate it. You can systematically build up to something, but it's not the way most learning should be done. On the other hand, when you read the book of a single author, they have a voice, a personality that helps guide you through the topic like a friend. That's good. When you have a video, you can get a sense of the speaker, where they're coming from, what they're emphasizing, what they're trying to communicate to you. That's good. But if you're doing some like robotic, you know what I'm talking about, robotic program learning thing where there's no personality to it, that stinks. All right, continuing with Frank Smith quotes. He says, the constructivist view of learning is that you learn from personal experience. No one tells a baby what they should know. They find out for themselves by constructing it. They build in their own minds a theory of the world. Okay. One last quote from Frank Smith for today. We organize our experience into categories. For every category, there is a prototype. And the categories are organized based on the relationship with each other. A complex hierarchical structure of interlocking categories is a framework upon which much of our theory of the world is constructed. Yeah, we build up our sense of the world. That is a cat because it has fur and 4 legs and it says meow. And that looks like a cat, but that's not a cat. That's a dog because it says bow wow. And then we'll categorize all these other animals. That's a wild cat because you only find that one in the jungle. So anyways, I hope you found that helpful.